gentlemen, I am so glad that you're joining me today on my real estate show. Happy Valentine's Day. Today is February 14th, 2020. And regardless of when you might be watching this, I'm glad that you're here. Today, I have a very special guest, and I am super excited to have him on my show. This is someone that I've been following on social media for a couple of years. And I haven't just been following what he says, but actually what he does, which is a very different thing. I've drawn a lot of inspiration from it, and I really feel that he's an expert in the topic that I'm about to cover with you guys, which is marketing real estate in a digital world. So let me go ahead and bring my friend Brian Casella up to the show. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Angela, thanks for having me. I'm glad that we're doing this topic. I'm glad that you're bringing it up because it's so important and it's very relevant, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian is a team leader at Team VC in Southern California. So if any of you guys are thinking of buying, selling, or investing in real estate in that part of the world, he would be a great resource. And I am a full-time real estate agent in the Northeast Florida area. I'm with Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, and I do a lot of marketing digitally. And I'm going to break it down as to why that is and why you should be looking for an agent who has this type of strategy to represent you throughout the sale of one of your biggest assets, which will be your home. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you guys is some statistics so you guys know where it is that I'm coming from and why this is so relevant and so important. Hoopsuite, which is one of the companies that really follows the digital media, had recently posted a report. Just to kind of give you guys some perspective, there are a total of 7.7 billion people in the world. Okay, so let's look at this from a massive global scale. 7.7 billion people in the world. Out of those 7.7, 5.1 are actually on 5.1 billion are actually on their mobile phone. 4.5 billion use the internet, and 3.8 billion, nearly half of them, are on social media. So definitely, this stuff is revolutionized a lot of different industries, most definitely the real estate industry in many ways. So the way real estate was marketed just 10 years ago or even 5 years ago is very different than what it is right now. So the purpose of this video is to give our sellers some pointers and some things to look for when you're hiring an agent to sell your home and what kind of marketing strategy they should have. So let me go ahead and ask you, what type of digital marketing skills, Brian, should a seller look for when hiring an agent to sell their home?
Great question, Angela. And it's really simple. The first thing I would say is, is the agent that you're talking to actually active? I look back, when I started about 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, and when I would bring up video and social media to people, they were looking at me like, what are you talking about? Because it wasn't really relevant back then. And the average person didn't really know. It wasn't until a couple of years ago where I went to a hotel. I was staying in San Jose at an event, and I saw everybody at the event who was of the older generations on their phone, Snapchatting, Instagramming, and this is like 3 years ago. And I said, okay, this is an indicator to me that this now is a normal thing across all generations. And it really stuck out to me. And that's when I really started pushing it a couple of years ago. So the first thing is your agent up to date? And do they actually know that with a cell phone, like an iPhone, they can do some pretty good work, right? All of these phones have the capability of producing 4K quality video. And, that's huge, because just a year ago, if you put a 4K quality video on YouTube, it ranked higher, right?
Yeah.
I can take that same video, right? And this is the second thing somebody needs to look at. Is your agent active on all platforms such as Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, right? We have the story feature now. And a lot of people don't know, if you put 2 hashtags in a story, it's now searchable and people can find it. So that's why on a lot of my stories, if I really want to reach certain people, I'll put little hashtags, right? Also, the third that I would ask, especially if your agent is more established, is do they have somebody dedicated to editing and doing the video work for them, right? I've really stepped it up this last 2 years, and I got a video editor so that if I do a very fancy video, which I'll send you one that I did for a luxury property where we actually got an actor. It was a beachfront property, and we did a whole 2 or 3 minute video. Maybe I'll share it with you on Facebook, because I think just organically it got 10 or 15,000 views, like
wow.
Really good. it was really good, but it told a story. So that would be the last thing I would throw on, because it's simple, right? I don't want to overcomplicate it, but is your agent putting effort into it, and do they have an editor, and can they tell a story with your property that will capture somebody's attention? You just showed the statistics. Over half of the world today in the modern age is on the internet looking at social media, and a good chunk of them may be looking at properties and interested in buying a home. And the last thing is this: if your agent is active on social media, do they have other successful and active real estate agents following them? I know for a fact I have one of the biggest real estate agent followings. So I tell people, look, Mr. Seller, if I go live on Facebook as an example in your house right now, there will be thousands of agents who will see it within seconds, who may have qualified buyers. Now, is that the type of attention you want? Or do you just want people browsing who you don't know if they're serious? I have the agents and their buyers watching me. So I think, I think that pretty much encompasses it in a simple fashion.
Absolutely. And I feel like the most exposure that a listing can get, the better off it's going to be, because you're maximizing the opportunities to find a buyer for it, right?
Exactly. 100%.
And these can come from anywhere, you know, and one of the things that I love so much about the digital world is that we're able to connect. There are no boundaries. Right now, Brian's in California, I'm here in Florida, and we're in here together. So there is no such thing as, you know, being distant. What's so great about this is we could take a listing and broadcast it to the world. This buyer of yours could be coming from anywhere in the globe. And by simply working with an agent who knows how to work these systems, who knows how to work social media, and to give your home the presence that you're looking for, you're going to much likelier have a quicker sale and for more money. So it's real important that you start looking at these things, because the days of advertising and bus benches and magazine ads are long gone, and we all need to adjust to that. You know, I mean, the way we do things right now is just becoming an indispensable part of everyday life. So I'm glad that we're covering this. Now, in terms of the actual strategy for social media, Brian, what are some of the things that you can tell us that your team is doing to highlight your listings with using social media?
There's a lot of stuff we do, right? When it comes to listings now, and the fact that we're doing stuff online, I know when it comes to video, there's a few nuances that people haven't figured out yet. Like, one thing I know is whether somebody's shopping for a home or not, a lot of people, their attention span is very short now. So one thing that we focus on with our videos is to add some sort of entertainment value or something to grab people's attention. Like in the video of that luxury listing, the first couple seconds we show a nice luxury car pulling out of the garage. Now, I know that's going to get people's attention because, you know, it's a fancy car, and they're going to want to watch more. So in this age where there's so many videos, you need something, I would say, in the first 5 seconds, whether it's beautiful imagery, good sounds. Sounds is another focus, right? We make sure to have a certain type of music on our listing videos, because we know that music can put you in a good mood, and it inspires certain emotions. So if you have the imagery, you have the sound, that now you're really putting together the complete package. And that's not difficult, because we know, hey, if I listen to this type of music, it's good. We know what types of music create certain emotions. So other than that, we want to make sure it's branded well and it's short, which is one of the biggest issues I see with a lot of videos that agents do, is they'll do a 20-minute listing video. It's like, you got to be able to knock it out in a minute or less, because somebody's on their phone taking a break, you know, having a smoke or having a snack. People are only going to look for 30 seconds or a minute. Same thing when I reach out to a client. I have a quick video, and I tell them, I'll text it under the video, hey, when you got 30 seconds, watch this, right? Because that's all you need. And you would know, if you do a listing video, people will know within seconds if they want to keep watching it or if they like that property. True or true?
Right, absolutely. Now, do you feel that that's kind of like the first impression, the first, you know, checkpoint where they might say, okay, I'm interested in this listing or not?
Absolutely. Yeah. First impressions last. We know that. That's why, as an example, if I door knock, I'll wear a jacket like this, because it gets people's attention. They might not like it, but they're going to talk to me, and they're going to tell me they don't like it. And once they start talking to me, that's all I need.
Right. So the main thing here is to get the attention that your home deserves to the majority of people, the maximum amount of people that we can possibly reach, so that you can sell your home quicker and for more money, which is ultimately what most sellers want, what all of the sellers want. So one of the things that I wanted to also ask you is, what are some of the qualifications? What are some of the questions that they should be asking when selecting an agent?
There's a lot. If I can narrow it down to 2 or 3, just to keep it simple and powerful for the seller, I would ask them to have the agent describe to them just briefly a few of their strategies and what they do, kind of like you're doing with me, and ask them, hey, what apps are you using? What type of video traffic are you getting? Do you have a YouTube channel? Are you active? Are you collaborating with other real estate agents in regards to doing video, right? How powerful is your brand? Are you known in the real estate community through digital marketing? Because a lot of times I think agents use social media, but they're used by it. They don't get out there with, production and say, hey, I'm going to create, I'm not going to consume. So right. If I'm going to give another question or two to sellers, maybe I would tell them, ask the agent to show you, look at their Instagram, look at their YouTube, and just give them a snapshot of, when you go to somebody's channel and you can see the front 5 or 6 videos, just to see what their subscribers are, what type of videos they're producing, because that alone will give you the feel. So as an example, if the seller asks this agent and it goes to their YouTube channel, it has no picture, no videos, no content to browse, and okay, this person isn't really using social media effectively. And I think that's going to be, that last question is one of the most powerful, because you can look on anybody's app or YouTube in a second and you can get a very, very good feel if they're active or not, right? If you go to any of my platforms, you'll see the videos, the picture, it's high quality, it's there. Whether people like that specific image or not is irrelevant, but I'm using it and I'm getting attention, which I do for the listings and my brand as well, and my team.
So ultimately, do you feel that all of this effort and these type of approach to marketing a listing actually helps the transaction?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like that luxury listing I told you, before we even officially put it on the market, we sold it. With all those views, we generated, I think, 6 calls from agents, 3 had buyers. Those 3 came to see it, and we got 2 offers, and we sold it. And that was a $4.2 million property. So imagine what it would do for a more affordable home, 400, 500, 300, 600, 800. And this is in Southern California, right? So it's one of those things that I tell people, it's free. I mean, look at the attention you can generate for free. We don't need to be an agent who has a huge budget like 10, 20 years ago, where we have to now pay to get radio ads or to be on TV. We're right there where buyers and sellers are. They're watching HGTV. They're watching these shows. They're on their phones. They're on YouTube looking at these properties. Why not put this in front of them? So I think it's gone from being kind of like a bonus to almost like now a necessity in a sense, because you showed it in the beginning. That's where the eyeballs are. And everybody starts, I'm sure they probably tell you, a lot of your clients, they start looking on Zillow and Trulia and all those places. So as a bonus, what I do in a lot of my listing videos and videos I really want to get out to the public is I'll tag Zillow and Trulia in the tags. So when people are searching, it'll pop up. Yeah. And I specifically will put cities and subdivisions, because another marketing strategy I do for my sellers and my team is we'll do videos about certain cities and why it's good to move there. We answer questions people might have, because that will drive traffic to us, which will then pass that traffic to those listings that we have in those areas. So it's kind of like a two-way strategy.
Right. And, one of the things that I love about video is that you could make certain connections that you're not able to with text. Like right now, you can kind of get a feel for my personality. I talk with my hands a lot, but not only do you have the audio, but you also have the visual, right? So this is hitting certain circuits in our brain that otherwise would not be stimulated if you were just reading something from a text. So it's super important to be able to use this technology to really be able to influence someone's desire to look at your home or to even go see it. But if you are not playing this right, or if you're not playing it at all, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. So I think it's important to make sure that you're working with an agent who has a social media presence, who has a social media audience. An audience is something that takes time to build. I understand you've been building the audience for several years, have you not?
Yeah, long time. I've been doing consistently and hard probably the last 3 or 4 years, but in total, I would say at least 5 or 6 I've been doing video at this point. So it's been a commitment, but like anything in life, you're going to have to really put in the work. But now my clients and myself can reap the benefits of that. because I do have that audience, and anything that I put out is minimum going to get at least a couple thousand views in a day or two, which is beneficial to them and everybody else. But that's, I think, an indicator to them. Also, my work ethic as an individual, even outside of real estate, which is a cool thing with video marketing too, and learning about somebody like yourself. You get to see what we do outside of the real estate business, our personalities and what we're like, which will tell you something. Because how many people have we met that maybe in real estate they look good, but then you look at the rest of their life and it doesn't seem to be in order, and that might give you an indicator that they're not the best person to work with. Versus somebody like you, as an example, the little we've known each other, I see you're extremely consistent and you're actually doing this, which is hard to find. And we know as an agent working with other agents, sometimes it's hard to find somebody who's going to communicate consistently and be there and actually do their job at a high level. So that, for me as an agent, I would feel more comfortable working with you, Angela, because I'm like, hey, if she's showing up here every day and she's doing this consistently, it's probably going to carry over into her real estate business and she's going to treat it the same.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where I always try to look for opportunities to bring value to my sellers. And this is just one of those that I just knew it had to be a main pillar in the marketing strategy for all of my listings. So there's always a coming soon campaign that involves video and social media, and then there's the actual marketing of that home after the digital photos have been taken, creative videos with that, again, just hitting it not only in the realtor community, but also in the lifestyle community. Because one of the things that I know is that people obviously buy the house, but what most important is the lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle are they going to enjoy living in that home? And I feel that that's really what makes them make a decision towards one home or not. Obviously, there's logic behind it. They obviously have to qualify and be able to afford it. But at the same time, what you're buying is what life is going to be like living in that home. Do you feel that too?
100%. And that's the beauty of a video, is you can do that, right? Like we did for that listing on that oceanfront property, just like we do on another listing around here where the average price is $500,000 or $600,000. You always want to do that because we learned this early on in the real estate business too. When you have, as an example, a vacant property, a lot of times the buyer coming in doesn't have that vision or can't see what you can describe in a video. So even if I kept that property vacant, but I made sure that every single person watched that video, or it prompted when they walked into the listing and they could see it right there, that could be the difference between somebody walking away, being unsure, and actually submitting an offer on the home because they realize, hey, this is perfect for us. So it's huge. Okay. It's huge. And ultimately, whether people admit it or not, that's one of those core reasons that they buy. Right? They may not tell us, but that's one of the core reasons that they buy for sure.
Absolutely. You know, very early on in my career, I learned that buyers make a decision based on emotion and they justify it with logic.
100%. 100%.
So what makes them sign, what makes them say, yes, this is the one, is very much an emotional thing. And then once you go ahead and go through the process, obviously there's the logical part that goes along with it. So it's really important to be able to maximize our opportunity when it comes to having someone fall in love with your home. So that way it could sell faster and for more money, which is ultimately what all sellers want. Another thing that I love about video is that we're playing these messages now, but they also have the repeat factor. The value in that is immense because yes, we're putting this together, but you can watch this at your own time. You know, if people are at work right now, they might not be live watching it, but once they get a break or once they get home and put their kids to bed, they're on their computers. We know that they are because that was the first slide I covered, right? Nearly half of the population in the world is on some sort of digital platform. So what better way than to bring the home to them at their own time with all the emotional and lifestyle information that will get them to make a decision and actually be the trigger to say, hey, I want to go look at that home and I want to buy it.
Right. 100%.
So it's a beautiful thing.
It's a footprint that's going to be there forever, you know. And another thing that I think sellers don't realize is, especially if you choose an agent who's doing this regularly, is Google, you build almost like a consistency and you dig yourself deeper into it, meaning if there's a lot of production coming from you in regards to real estate and listings in certain areas, like for you being in Florida, if I'm tagging Florida all the time in my videos, eventually, because of that consistency and the viewership and the length of time that I've been doing it, whenever I put Florida in my tags, I'm a lot more likely to pop up higher on the search. And a lot of people don't know that. So if I put real estate on anything, real estate agent, listing, home for sale in California, which is tough because there's millions of people here, I can still rank in the first page for sure. just because of my seniority, we can say, on these platforms. And that's another kind of unique value proposition I tell them is, someone else might do video, but those of us like me and you who are doing this consistently, we're going to pop up higher. And that's what you want. Because typically when you search for something, how often do you go past the first page to keep looking? You don't. You pick one of the first three, or you scroll a little bit and you pick the first page, and that's it.
Yeah, I'll be curious to know how many agents you are competing in your market. I can share it with you here in Northeast Florida. There are 8,000 agents in my board, and that seemed pretty high. But yesterday I was talking to someone in Texas, and I think there's like 36,000 in Houston. So, although it seems like a lot, like there's a sea of agents here, how could I make myself stand out? It just made sense for me to use this technology to bring value to my buyers and sellers. So I'll be curious to know what your take is on that, and how many agents you might be competing in your market.
I looked at the statistic. Half of the licensed real estate agents in the US are in California.
What?
It's crazy, yeah. But definitely this is what I feel is best too, because it's kind of a package. And I think people forget that. When we do video, you're going to get us and the real estate side, meaning each one of us has an individual personality and things about us, right? So that's obviously going to connect with certain people more than others. But that's ultimately, I believe, the number one way to separate yourself is your personality and actually letting it shine. Because I know we talked about that a little bit beforehand, before we were on live. A lot of agents are afraid to do this because they're going to be criticized, not the listing, them. And I would tell a seller, if your agent doesn't have the courage to be on video, how strong are they going to be negotiating or doing something else if they can't do something that simple because they're scared, Yeah. So I think that says a lot about the agent too. Absolutely. But also your creativity, right? Like us doing that story on that one oceanfront home, a lot of agents won't do that because, again, it's too risky. They're scared, right? Maybe they don't want to invest, spent maybe a couple $100. It wasn't a big deal, And again, my video, we can say, reign of 5 years is what created the connection with Anthony, who was that videographer, who still does a lot of video for my events now, my coaching events and that kind of stuff, and my real estate events. Right. So we have a long relationship. That's how I got that. But how did I connect with him? He started watching my videos. So, I mean, it builds that network. It creates opportunities that otherwise you wouldn't have, like you mentioned earlier. And that's what has built my crew of agents, vendors, videographers, and everything else that I use. I mean, I know friends who are social media marketers, right? That they know how to get these listings in front of people by tagging it right, posting it, at 6:59 p.m., which is the best time in our area. They know all those little details that another agent isn't going to know because I have them as a part of my crew. And ultimately, I think that's what makes me different. However, any agent like yourself who's actually doing it has the opportunity to do that, but we're the doers. We're not the watchers and the thinkers. We're the doers.
It's so interesting you say that. I was having lunch with a friend yesterday, and she told me the same thing. I don't personally look and analyze my strategy as much as I do. I'm a doer. And she brought that up. She said, Angela, you're a doer. You don't sit down and analyze all the stuff that you're doing, but you're sparking up a fire everywhere you go. There's always something going on. And I'm glad that I'm like that. I think it was just the way I was wired. It doesn't mean that I wasn't scared of doing video at the very beginning. I think we all had that fear, when we first got started, but I allowed myself the grace to learn a new skill. And just like anything else, when you're brand new at something, you might not be perfect at it at first, but the more that you do it, and then again, the key component here, consistency. Because that consistency, that repetition is really what builds that muscle in any way, shape, or form. In this case, happens to be video marketing and how I apply that to social media and how I apply that to bring value to my sellers. So I think it's important to work with someone that's courageous enough to try something, be proficient at it, and be able to offer you that value, which is a super valuable skill that we know not even 10% of the agents in any market are using right now. But I feel that's probably going to be changing as we go into the future because video's here to stay. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I don't even think 10% are doing it. And out of that percent that's actually doing it, that are consistent like us, forget it. You can probably count it on your hands and your toes.
Yeah, so it really just becomes a valuable asset for a seller to work with an agent that has this type of skill. Another thing that I'm seeing is that, it helps the seller, it helps the buyer too, because obviously they want to find a home that's just perfect for them. So it's bringing good to the community and at the same time growing our business, which is ultimately, the secret recipe there. We want a win-win. So if you're listening to me and you have had the thought of selling, I would love to sit down with you and show you how all of these strategies actually apply to your home and how this can make a difference between being on the market for several months and this costing you a fortune. If the house might be vacant, there's carrying cost, there's still utilities that have to be paid, there's still taxes, association fees. I think about all of that when I work with a seller. If it's a vacant home, that's drawing a hole in your pocket. Yeah. By working with an agent who has this type of skill, who has this type of marketing plan, you're going to be saving thousands of dollars just simply because that home is going to get sold quicker, as opposed to turning that around and maybe perhaps working with an agent who's doing it old school ways and keeping that home on the market longer. So I definitely encourage you guys to look at that as a priority when hiring an agent to sell your home. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Brian. I really appreciate it. And I hope to have you again on my show pretty soon.
Of course. Well, when Angela from Florida, the rock star, invites you to be on video, you say yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, friend. I hope that we get to do this again, and I'm sure we will. There'll be plenty of opportunities. So thank you. I'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
Oh, but one more thing. How would they get in touch with you if there's a way to follow you on social media? What's the best way to do that?
Right there, my name. You see it in the pink, Brian Casella. That's I'm Googleable. That's what I tell people. If you type that in the search, you'll find my YouTube, my Instagram, and everything you need.
All right. Well, fabulous. I appreciate you, friend. And I will be talking with you guys very soon. So please connect with us. Bye-bye.